It began in 1995 with John Davidson pushing his son Jesse across Ontario in a wheelchair to raise awareness for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. A movement was born. Awareness, donations, support, research, hope. Their vision remains our foundation. Join us now as we take the next step toward that goal. A future without Duchenne.
A future without Duchenne. John and Jesse Davidson from London, Ontario set that vision in 1995 as they founded Jesse's Journey to provide leadership in research, education, support, and advocacy in the fight to defeat Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Their vision remains our North Star today. Good afternoon to those of you joining us here in London. It's nice to see friendly faces again in the same room. And to those of you joining us virtually across Canada, the US, or around the world. My name is Perry Esler, Chief Executive Officer, and we'll spend the next 40 or 45 minutes together today as we look forward to sharing, honoring the past and looking forward to an exciting future as we unveil a momentous milestone in our national fight to defeat Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Now, not many of you may know, but I got to know the Davidsons long before I knew of Duchenne muscular dystrophy. John and I worked together in media. My wife Nicole and I got to know the family very well, including Jesse. I, like many here today, played a small role as a road volunteer in 1995, pushing Jesse across Ontario in his wheelchair. In fact, don't laugh, but that is me in the blue hat to the left of John and Jesse behind them on the final kilometers in Ottawa in September of '95. It was compelling to see so many people lining the streets, donating, and cheering on this father-son duo determined to make a difference. As I mentioned earlier, their vision remains our North Star, and it's only with the inclusion of John, Shireen, Tyler, and Tim that we've gotten to this point today. We will never forget Jesse, and although we have a new name, his vision will always remain. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my sincere pleasure to announce that as of today, Jesse's Journey will operate as Defeat Duchenne Canada, and the legal name, the Foundation for Gene and Cell Therapy, will change to the Jesse Davidson Foundation.
1986 was a year that changed the lives of our family forever. We noticed that our son Jesse was struggling to stand up and to climb the stairs to reach his bedroom. After months of visits to specialists and tests, we learned that Jesse had Duchenne muscular dystrophy, the most common and sadly the most fatal of the muscular dystrophies in children. The news was devastating. But even harder was accepting the realization that very little was being done to fund research. And we knew the research was the only way to slow the progression and stop Duchenne. But research requires money. In the summer of 1995, I pushed Jesse 3,300 kilometers across Ontario in his wheelchair, meeting other families battling this muscle-wasting disease and raising $1.5 million for research. That was how we launched Jesse's Journey, the only Canadian charity uniting families in the mission to defeat Duchenne. 26 years later, we have become the country's largest funder of Duchenne research, investing almost $15 million in 50 projects around the world. Now is the time to broaden our reach, to engage and support more families, and to educate our nation's leaders to gain the federal support needed to make greater progress in research and care. Join us now as Jesse's Journey becomes Defeat Duchenne Canada, a transformation that our family is proud to support. My son Jesse's grit and determination inspired thousands to help in his fight, and through your support, his legacy will live on. Join the fight to defeat Duchenne. Donate today at defeatduchenne.ca.
Now I'd like to introduce my friend and the founder of Defeat Duchenne Canada, John Davidson.
Thank you very much, Perry. There is absolutely nothing that we cannot achieve when we work together and put our minds to it. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to those of you who are here in the room at the Convention Centre in London, Ontario. And a special thank you to all of you joining us online from across Canada and around the world. While our focus today is on the future and uniting Duchenne families from across Canada and around the globe in our quest to erase Duchenne muscular dystrophy, I've been asked to share a bit of the story of how we began the journey that has brought us to today. My wife Shireen and I have 3 children. Jesse was the middle child in our family of 3 boys, and from a very young age, Jesse was the thinker, and he was going places. Jesse has an older brother, Tyler, and a younger brother, Tim. Jesse was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy in 1995 when he was 5 years old. Jesse's journey began with our first journey across Ontario in the summer of 1995 when Jesse was 15 years old. Our growth continued in 1998 when I completed a 286-day journey across Canada, walking from St. John's, Newfoundland to Victoria, British Columbia. We never really know what we are capable of, and we never know what we can actually do until we have no choice but to go out and try. In the beginning, we set out to cross Ontario, and we didn't have any money. And we knew that research is extremely expensive, and that forced us to set the bar very high. We had never done anything like this, and we wanted to do all we could to create an awareness of Duchenne and to make a difference and to give people hope. Together, Jesse and I were going to spend 124 days on the road crossing Ontario, a total of 3,300 kilometers, trying to reach as many people as possible and to share our story with everyone who would listen. Pushing Jesse uphill into Terrace Bay in those early days on the road, there were very few people. Our daily routine was getting smoothed out in those early days, and it seemed for a long time that there was just Jesse and me, our volunteers, a lot of very kind truck drivers, and millions of trees and rocks. After making our way around the top of Lake Superior, by the time we reached Huntsville, Ontario, the halfway mark, Jesse's journey was now pretty well known, and it seemed like everyone wanted to reach out to Jesse for what he was doing to help advance research. When we reached southern Ontario, we were finally getting close to home, and we definitely weren't alone anymore. If there's one thing I have learned by this time, it's this. When you let your passion show, people will listen. And the more passionate you are, the more people will listen. We pushed on through the crowds that were now along the roadside every day, and in our 5th month on the road together, we finally reached Ottawa. When the dust settled on this first adventure on the road, we had managed to raise $1.5 million to launch the Jesse Davidson Endowment, and research was poised to move into a higher gear. And then the journey continued. 3 years later, in April of 1998, I was in St. John's, Newfoundland, on day number 1 of my attempt to walk across Canada to raise even more money for research. This time I was alone, as the journey was going to involve parts of 2 winters, and I could not take Jesse with me. There were new stories every day as I began meeting Duchenne families in every province. And my desire to build Jesse's journey into a national foundation that would unite families and move research leaps and bounds was growing with every passing day. The journey across Canada took me 286 days until I finished in Victoria, British Columbia, 10 months after dipping the toes of my running shoes into the water of the Atlantic at the little harbor in St. John's, Newfoundland. There were a lot of days that were very long days, and there were a lot of lonely days on the road, but I pushed on knowing that Jessie had paved the way when it came to showing incredible grit, perseverance, and determination. There were days that were pretty tough, and on those days, I thought about all the Duchenne families that we had yet to meet and how important it was going to be to clear the road to research for them and for their little boy. I was asked to share a story or two from the road, and when I sat down to write these notes, I couldn't pick one. And there's a reason for that. You are the story of Jessie's journey. You, the volunteers who made Jessie's journey come alive. You, the Duchenne families who have always believed in all that Jessie and I were trying to do. And you, the Duchenne families across Canada and around the world who I have never met. You are the moms and the dads and the children who show us what real courage is all about. And you are now the ones who are paving the way. You are the people that Jessie has passed the torch to continue building what Jessie started on the road so many years ago, the road to a cure that we know we are going to reach. Thank you very much.
When I was 8 years old, my parents noticed that there was something off about the way I walked. They took me for tests, and that's when they learned that I have Duchenne muscular dystrophy. It's not easy having Duchenne. It's weakened my muscles and has limited my physical abilities. But Duchenne doesn't limit my mind or my curiosity or determination. I've received my advanced diploma in biotechnology, and I'm always learning new skills. And I'm even stronger knowing I have a whole community behind me. My family, friends, researchers, medical professionals, fundraisers, and volunteers. They're fighting for me. They're fighting for all the young men and boys with Duchenne. Join us! Please donate and help to defeat Duchenne.
When the road adventures ended for Jessie and I can't tell you how thrilled I was when a new family who knew and understood what it was we were doing would reach out to join us. Errict Lavery was a very young boy when I first met him and his family. His dad and mom went right to work looking for ways to help, and they have never stopped doing that. When I first went to meet Errict and his family in the neighborhood they lived in, they lived on Canada Street, and somehow that just seems very fitting today. Please welcome Errict Lavery and his dad, Sean.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon. I would like to start with a message to the boys and young men who are living with Duchenne, like me and my brother Alex. During your lives, there will be physical limits on your bodies, but you should not and cannot let these limitations affect your mind or define you. Find your passion, something that excites you. To be completely honest, life with Duchenne hasn't always been easy, but I feel that having this disease has given me a different perspective and an empathetic view on life. I am a proud ambassador for this organization. I feel that it is my responsibility to use my struggles and life experience as a way to help the other boys and young men who are struggling and may struggle with this disease in the future. Thank you.
Right. Good afternoon. How do I start? Your life with Duchenne will not be easy, but it will not be impossible. Have patience. Take your time. Plan your days and tasks out so you'll succeed at the day-to-day things that you need to do that other families don't. Knowledge is a big key. Stay informed and be prepared for what Duchenne life will throw at you, but never let the disability stop you and your family from living. I was told by a great friend and mentor that Duchenne will always be there. Don't ever put it front and center in your life. Those words have rung true and stayed with me for nearly 2 decades. I now say them to you in hopes that they will help you as well. I have tried to be an ambassador for nearly 20 years for my sons and every boy and young man that has lived with Duchenne. You can help others by sharing your experiences and your challenges. Both can make a huge difference for young families. Raise awareness beyond your family and friends. Involve your community, your schools and workplaces. You will learn that most people want to do something, to be part of something. They want to help make a difference. Most just don't know how or where to start. Be that guide for them. My last message is to live. Make memories. Have life experiences with your sons. Every one of us only lives once. Use every option and means to create life memories. Never be afraid to ask and ask again. Nothing will ever happen if you don't. Travel, live every day, see the world while you can. Memories and smiles are things that Duchenne will never take from our sons. Lastly, be honest with your sons. There will be tough questions. They will always look up to you for strength and courage, especially when they feel they don't have it. Be strong for them. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for setting the scene of our historical roots. And thank you, Sean and Errict. We sincerely appreciate you sharing your story with us today. It's people and families like you who drive our mission forward. After all, you are the reason we're here today, helping to unite families in the fight to find improved treatments and ultimately a cure. Now that you know where we came from and who we're fighting for, we'll take a moment to share how we got to today, to our new name, Defeat Duchenne Canada. For that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Jeff Preston. Jeff joined our organization as a senior volunteer, assuming the role of chair of the organization in September of 2018. He is a professor of disability studies at King's College here in London at the University of Western Ontario, and he has a long relationship with Jesse's journey. Jeff has played a vital role in navigating this change over the last couple of years, and we can't thank him enough for his dedication, support, and guidance. Please welcome Dr. Jeff Preston.
Thank you, Perry, and good afternoon. I'd like to start by extending a warm welcome from our board of directors and a heartfelt thank you to our donors, our volunteers, and our staff who, over the years, have made Jesse's journey a huge success. What started back in 1995 with John and Jesse taking that first step, our journey continues as an organization toward our final destination, a world without Duchenne. But like all good journeys, sometimes we must pause to gain some perspective and to plot out our next step forward. With the support of staff, our board began this process back in 2018 with the start of our Epic Journey strategic planning process. As we began inviting supporters to join us in this conversation, we really hoped to reignite the builder spirit of our volunteers. John and Jesse ignited a network of people across this country that wanted to help to create something special. And now it was time for us to return to these builders and ask, what might our continued journey look like? During these sessions, we heard loud and clear that we must continue to honor who we were as an organization. We raise money, we fund research, we save lives. But we also wanted to take a time to dream of what we could become. We heard about the ways that people find each other through our organization, a rhizomatic family of families drawn together out of a mutual desire to care for others and to fight for their loved ones. We considered the urgent need for a loud and uncompromising voice for our kids. And we dreamed of becoming a truly national movement, conscious of differing circumstances and experiences from coast to coast to coast. In order to make this national presence happen, we needed to invest. And so, brought forth by Rochelle Tanhaf, our marketing manager, we developed our marketing advisory committee and underwent significant internal review with the support of all of our Duchenne community. Our 2020 strategic plan reimagines how our organization appears on the outside. Our mission and our vision, though, remain the same. Honoring Jesse and the Davidsons, Defeat Duchenne Canada remains Canada's only national charity wholly dedicated to ending Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Our vision, the ultimate goal, is right there in our name: Defeat Duchenne, create a future without this disease. Continuing the work of our epic journey, our board has spent the last 2 years reassessing and evolving our organizational values. Just like the Davidsons, we are focused. Everything we do is for our boys, and we are determined. We will make change happen. But our family is also growing. We believe that diversity makes us stronger and that we achieve more when working and sharing knowledge together. And of course, our organization remains true to our word and our mission. Over the last few years, we've seen firsthand the magic that can happen when you make space for families to connect, to gather, to learn, and to organize. Nowhere is that more obvious than our family forums. From 2019 to today, 255 families have attended our national family forums, gathering together to learn and talk and share. We've been running webinars. Over 70 webinars and presentations are now a virtual resource on our YouTube channel. And in 2021, 218 pediatric and adult healthcare professionals attended our Canadian conference. Education also becomes a new feature on our website, providing resources for those who have just received a diagnosis, but also offering information for researchers that are interested in joining the fight. Because research is what we're all about. We are Canada's largest funder of Duchenne research, driving world-changing research right here at home in Canada, but also accelerating top research around the globe. To date, we have granted almost $15 million across 50 research projects. More recently, though, we've started to expand our research focus to not just fund the researchers, but to help to connect them with our families, making it easier to find and access critical trials that are just starting to get underway. Now, if you ask John Davidson, I think he would probably say the most important part of Jesse's journey is raising money to find a cure. But Jesse and John did something else that was incalculably important. They gave voice to everyone affected by Duchenne, raising the profile of the disease and saying loudly and clearly, "You are not alone, but we need help to fight this." Defeat Duchenne Canada will continue to elevate the voices of the Duchenne community at the municipal, provincial, territorial, and federal levels so that our boys have access to programs and supports that they need to live happier, healthier, and longer lives. Our priority is to ensure timely access to treatment and funding in Canada as breakthroughs are made. We want to improve access to medicine that is not yet approved in Canada. We are going to push for faster decision-making to increase timely access to medication. We want to ensure that medicine is affordable for all people living with Duchenne, and we want to incorporate the patient's perspective into this process to improve delivery of care. Ultimately, we can't do that without fundraising. To stop Duchenne, we need an extraordinary amount of financial resource, and generating the funds necessary to provide the researchers with the tools needed to win this fight remains at the heart of what we do. As we reflected on our organization, though, we saw clearly that this is an organization that is powered by people. Our momentum is driven by the staff and volunteers that join the fight every day. But I think the real power of Jesse's journey is the families that look to us for help. We're powered by folks like the Power family from Nova Scotia. People like Alex and the hundreds of other families across Canada are the reason we do our work, to find a cure for them. And we want to start to give you a better opportunity to learn more about these amazing families too, to hear from the families that we hear every month. To help raise their voice and share their story, we have a new amazing interactive map on our website where you can get to know our ambassadors from coast to coast. Of course, we're also still looking for more young men like Errict and their families, like the Powers, to help us to raise this awareness. If you're interested in becoming a spokesperson, to be an ambassador, please reach out. Ultimately, in times of crisis like a global pandemic, it is instinctive for us to look back, to think about what has been lost. But it's also an opportunity for us to look forward to the new world that we might make in the wake of the chaos. The future is hopeful in the fight against Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Today, we try not to lament what has been lost, but to honor how much has been done. We gather today to dream about what the wonderful future will look like that we are all fighting for to make manifest, a future when we celebrate the defeat of Duchenne. Thank you, and back to you, Perry.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you to the entire board for allowing us to go on this journey and do it together. Those of us in the charitable and nonprofit sector know the value of volunteers. Jeff has spoken about it. John spoke about it. After all, John and Jesse relied on volunteers to bring their ideas to life in 1995. And since then, Jesse's journey has been fortunate to attract caring people across the country to help with events, activities, and for leadership. Now, from one volunteer in Jeff to another, I'd like to introduce you to another member of our board of directors and the chair of our marketing advisory committee, Ken Wilson. Ken joins us today from Calgary.
Thank you. As Perry mentioned, I'm a board member and the chair of our marketing advisory committee. But first and foremost, I'm a Duchenne dad. I'm so excited to be here today for this announcement, albeit from out west. I wish I was there in person to celebrate with you, but for now, technology will have to do. You know, we always talk about our why. Why get involved? Why attend all those meetings? Why ask for donations? Everyone in this great organization has their own why, but for me, it's for one sole reason. It's for my son, Eli. Eli was 3 when he was diagnosed with Duchenne, and I remember that day like it was yesterday. Life smacked our family right in the face. It was a horrible blow. Duchenne is really a race against the clock. And as parents, it's hard to see your son get weaker and weaker every year. You need to learn to cope. But equally important is the word hope. The hope comes from medical research. Eli's 13 now, and he's one of the fortunate ones. He's on a clinical trial for a drug called Translarna that we know has really helped him. His doctors are amazed at what he can still do at 13, but we know at best that it's buying us some time. That is why this organization is so important. It's the only one devoted to medical research, and in medical research, there's hope. There are so many great research developments occurring that we hope will be a game changer for kids like Eli. We're hoping for a cure, and we're hoping for an improved future. But there's been a problem. This organization is small and it's had an awareness challenge. Case in point, I accidentally stumbled upon Jesse's journey during a rather lengthy Google search. Out west, I had never heard of it. And upon investigation, I found out that other parents hadn't either. I thought to myself, what a tragedy. They're doing so much good. So I reached out to the organization and offered my help. Very quickly, I got the big call from John Davidson asking me if I would be on the board. What an honor, I thought. That was 5 years ago. And since that time, I've also been asked to chair our marketing advisory committee, which I also graciously accepted. Now, as Jeff mentioned earlier, more than 2 years ago, we sparked conversation with hundreds of you in our community, families, healthcare practitioners, researchers, donors, and volunteers. We gathered your thoughts on our organization's brand and how we might expand our impact in research funding, education and support, advocacy, and awareness. Through focus groups, a national survey, and one-to-one interviews, your feedback, combined with the strong foundation built by John and Jesse, helped us create what you're hearing about today. Helping to achieve our strategic priority of increasing our national presence is our Marketing Advisory Committee. This group has been hard at work behind the scenes, and I want to take a minute to thank them for their help. Dr. Bob Mikulski, Professor of Marketing at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, a former Manitoba kid like me. Natalie Rumscheit, the Marketing Communications Director for the Canadian National Coaching Association. And Cheryl Weedmark, a Communications Manager for the Thames Valley School Board. Thank you all for stepping up and dedicating your time and talent to this cause. Words cannot express my gratitude. I'd also like to thank the excellent work of Field Day, the marketing communications firm we partnered with to develop this new brand and all the materials you're seeing here today. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank the devotion of Rochelle Tenhoff and Perry Esler. As Director of Marketing, Rochelle has juggled many competing priorities over the last 2 years and has done an amazing job at herding the cats. You know, a rebrand like this is not for the faint of heart. Over these 2 years, we've had countless meetings, pored over market research findings, assessed things like the strength of the brand, awareness levels, perceptions. We discussed, we debated, and we coalesced around this strong new brand. Jesse's journey has set an incredibly solid foundation for this organization, and we're honored to continue the legacy that Jesse and John built. And we're happy the Jesse Davidson Foundation will continue on as our legal charitable name. Today, we're proud to launch this new identity, Defeat Duchenne Canada, but really the work is just beginning. We're ready, willing, and able to be the voice for Duchenne families across Canada. We're ready to fight for our boys. So on behalf of my son Eli and all of the boys and their families out there fighting against Duchenne, thank you.
Our son Declan was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy when he was 3 years old. If you met him, you'd never know it. He's always smiling and he's full of energy. He loves to play hockey and play with his little sister. We know that one day there's a possibility that Declan may not be able to run and play with other boys. But Declan is strong. No matter what happens, Duchenne won't limit his imagination and determination. And we're even stronger knowing we have the whole Duchenne community behind us. Our family, friends, researchers, medical professionals, fundraisers, and volunteers. They're fighting for Declan. They're fighting for all the boys and young men with Duchenne.
Join the fight!
Please donate and help us defeat Duchenne.
Thank you, Ken, for being with us this afternoon and sharing your why. Well, ever since John and Jesse walked across Ontario in '95, families from coast to coast with Duchenne have found their home and hope within Jesse's journey, now Defeat Duchenne Canada. While our new name makes our mission clear, it really is just one piece of the puzzle. In the coming months, our goal is to raise greater awareness of Duchenne via national marketing initiatives, provide more support for more families across Canada, and expand our fundraising efforts in Duchenne research. We can't do this without you, though. We do not receive government funding and solely rely on the support from our community to make life better for the boys living with Duchenne and ultimately to find a cure for this life-limiting disease. I now ask you to go to defeatduchenne.ca, where you can subscribe to our newsletter and our new website. You'll learn about the latest organizational updates, family stories, and ways that you too can make a difference. So if you're joining us online right now, please click the subscribe button on the bottom left-hand navigation. And for those of you here, let's get our phones out. Let's go to defeatduchenne.ca, and even on the homepage, just scrolling straight to the bottom, you can register for these updates that will come to you with our e-newsletter and all of the other important updates from defeatduchenne.ca. So thank you again for signing up. We invite you to keep an eye on important dates across the organization. There you see the new website, which was officially live as of yesterday. And we are proud with the work that Field Day has done with this. They took this job on over a year ago, working with Rochelle very closely and the Marketing Advisory Committee. So hats off to all who Ken mentioned. We could not have gotten there without the Marketing Advisory Committee, the members involved in that, as well as the great work of Field Day out of Toronto. And now from everyone at Defeat Duchenne Canada, I want to thank you for joining us today to celebrate this exciting milestone. Hopefully you will consider to join us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And we invite you to join us for our 2022 virtual Walk to Defeat Duchenne, Sunday, May 29th. Last year was our largest in terms of registration across the country, represented in all 10 provinces, and we hope to continue that growth again this year with people walking virtually from coast to coast. And visit our new website, defeatduchenne.ca, to see the exciting new family resources which are available. As Jesse would always want us to do, now is the time for as Canadians to fight for the defeat of Duchenne. On behalf of our board, our staff, and the Duchenne community, I want to thank you all for coming out this afternoon, for joining us virtually as well. This has been great to bring everyone together for this important announcement, and now let's go forward and fight for our boys, Defeat Duchenne Canada. Thank you.